Welcome to the Book Pug Podcast. This is a podcast where we read.
We read?
Yeah.
Well, this is news to me.
I realized I already...
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't bring a book with me. I usually bring a book everywhere I go, but this is the one instance where I'm like,
It's okay.
I'm probably
Have
not
some you
going
can
to be reading. So I didn't, but I was just informed we're going to read. Crap.
This is a podcast where we are two women who like to read books and talk about the authors while enjoying a nice cocktail.
Yay! And that's all. I was going to add more, but you just summed it up in a nice big red bow.
Oh.
Yay! And that's Lesley.
And that's Madeline.
Yay! I keep yaying. I don't know why.
Cut them all out.
Instead of the woo girl, I'm the yay girl.
Yay.
One
One of the other fun facts that I read recently about Old English is yay was used for another version of all y'all. That's like Middle English, but still.
Yeah, you texted me that one.
The yay?
Yeah, for the all y'all.
Oh no, I that's ye. I texted
Ye
the
was
you
for
the
the
ye,
ye- oh,
and then
yeah.
so it used to be yay, and then they eventually evolved it into ye.
And now we're all like, all y'all.
You know, say all y'all instead.
I know. I think we could be so much more clever with our language nowadays, but we choose not to be.
No.
It's like this weird, we're sticks in the mud with our language, but at the same time, we're also like,
But now we have emojis, so
yeah.
there we go.
But I can't really reference people based on emojis.
Okay, what do you mean reference people?
I mean, well, or emotions. I can't really reference emotions or people or, people, places, or things with just, I can't just be like,
That's literally what the emojis are representing, though.
but with my mouth.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. There's not a sound for the emojis.
There's not a sound for the emojis.
Yeah. So that's kind of, yeah. Oh, well.
And I don't think there's like a transgender representation in the emojis either.
I mean, just the blank happy face is like kind of just blanketly
I guess that gender
person.
fluid
Yeah.
thing.
Could be anyone. Anything.
Sure. I guess so. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear how the transgender community feels about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've done introductions. We still don't have a sound a year later. Lesley and I are both very exhausted.
Yeah.
We're both working on shows,
Shakespeare stuff.
Shakespeare stuff. So let's just kick back, relax, enjoy a nice cocktail, and talk about one Sylvia Plath.
Ooh, yay.
Yeah.
That sounds not at all depressing.
Oh, God. This was probably one of the hardest to research.
Oh, really?
I couldn't, what's like the nice way of saying this? It took a lot out of me, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That
it did.
kind of.
And
yeah.
so I'm going to kind of gloss over some things.
Sure.
Because they might be triggering for people, for one. For two, we all know that, her life was a huge tragedy. So I just don't feel like I need to
Milk it.
Yeah, I'm not going to milk it.
Yeah.
I'm going to
celebrate the tragedy.
I'm going to tell her.
We're not a true crime podcast.
We're not a true crime podcast. I'm going to celebrate her for her.
Yeah.
And what she did ultimately kind of accomplish, and we, all that good stuff. So this one was a little hard. So it definitely took me a while, because it's like, anyways,
Yeah.
and today's cocktail.
Yes, what are we drinking?
Looks like a strawberry milkshake.
Yeah.
Which, how sad everything was. I'm like, this is actually super duper appropriate.
No, it's like, so wait, are we doing like Dora the Explorer or something right now?
It totally looks like Dora the Explorer. I love it. It's gin. It's 1.5 ounces of gin. Again, we kind of got a little janky with it, and we, instead of cream, we did just already whipped whipping cream, but I think it could work.
Yeah.
And we did an egg white, grenadine, and then at the bottom you do like a raspberry compote type thing. And again, we didn't have any raspberry compote type thing, so we used raspberry liqueur.
Which is fine.
So if anyone actually tries this cocktail, please let me know how it actually is with non-whipped whipping cream and raspberry compote. And I want to say that I found this off of a website while I was kind of just like Googling. I thought I had, I thought there was like a bell jar cocktail.
Sure.
And there isn't. Well, there is, but there isn't.
Okay.
There's not like
it's
one
Schrodinger's
like
cat of cocktails.
Yes. If the box is not open, is it alive or dead? I don't know. It is both alive and dead. Anyway, I'm spiraling. I thought that there was like someone who wrote like a specific cocktail for the bell jar, like some literature nerd who wrote it, but not really. There was just all these little ones. There is a cocktail in the bell jar, but it's just a vodka martini. So nice. I was like, well, we do those a lot on the
regular
outside. Yeah, on the outside part of the podcast. So I found this website, and it's called thedrinksbusiness.com, and it's all of these artists, and they created these, and it's female, not artists, authors. This is what we talk about. And it's all these female authors, and I love what they said, that this is a raspberry twist on an American classic, The Pink Lady. Like Plath's Over, this punchy drink has suffered historical critique by male cocktail critics for its feminine name and appearance. With just enough grenadine and cream to create its signature pink hue, this is a gin martini in a frock. And I just like that. I was like, oh, I love this, that she's, this powerhouse woman, and she was brought down a lot by men and critiqued by men, and it's like, oh yeah, get that.
Yeah, cool.
So I really liked that, and that's really the only reason I picked it. But we could talk about other reasons later too. But
sure,
it was just that spoke to me, and and again, didn't have all those ingredients, so I would actually like to try it with the proper ingredients one day.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's just when you were making it, it really reminded me, because my sister bought me this book of like cocktails from like the 1920s, or whatever. And it reminds me of some of the cocktails that are in that book, like just the ingredients and how you make it. And so I was like, oh, this like has this very old school kind of feel to it,
and it's pretty and pink and frothy and makes your soul feel good just to look at while you listen to us talk about Sylvia Plath.
Yeah. Well, then I'll take a sip of mine finally.
Yeah,
you tried.
Yours came out so much better than mine.
Mine seriously looks like a cappuccino or something that's pink. So l'chaim.
L'chaim. Yeah, mine was the experiment one.
Oh, yummy.
Is it good?
Oh my God, it does. It tastes like a milkshake.
I've really screwed mine up. I'm going to have to try it again someday. It kind of tastes like cough syrup because I think I put too much grenadine in.
Oh, no.
Not enough whipped cream.
Do you want to take a sip of mine?
I kind of do because it looks better. Mine is separated already.
Yeah.
Oh, that is like infinitely better.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you got the better one because you deserve the better one. She's so pretty. She deserves good things. Oh. I'm a fan of Lesley. So she gets good things. Oh, and did you see my shirt, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of epic, huh?
Yes. Written during quarantine. King Lear, Macbeth, and Antony and Cleopatra. But drama never stops. That's what it says.
Yeah, the drama never stops. I was like, perspective.
Yep.
So Sylvia Plath, diving right in. Sylvia Plath is an American poet. Oh, and we've been kind of talking about Sylvia Plath in the Bell Jar.
Yeah.
But to give you a little bit more background for those of you who may not know who she is, she's an American poet, novelist, and short story writer, best known for her semi-autobiographical work, The Bell Jar. Mm-hmm. And she's known for furthering the work of confessional writing.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
So I was going to pause there and be like, huh? You're the one who got the English degree? What? I didn't know that's a thing. What's confessional writing?
Yeah, it's like, like Virginia Woolf did the whole free flow, what do you call it? Free verse, yeah, thing where it's just stream of conscious. That's what I'm thinking of, the phrase stream of conscious.
Makes more sense. Okay, yeah.
So so stream of conscious, and so then confessional is sort of an expansion on the whole stream of consciousness idea. Okay. Because so they're very related.
More personal or something?
Yeah.
Confessional? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, now I know. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I wrote a lot about confessional writing, no idea what it was.
Yeah, it's like just kind of amplifying that, or like digging deeper into that same idea, because like stream of consciousness, you have it's like Mrs. Dalloway being like, oh, I should buy the flowers and then I'm going to do this, and I also really don't like my husband, and and it's and then Sylvia Plath would be more like, I don't really like my husband, I have finals tomorrow, but like, or whatever. Yeah. But also that thing about my husband,
Yeah,
or
focusing
really
more on
my boyfriend that I'm dating. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, she did have a husband, so.
I mean, but in Beljar, I think it's just a boyfriend character. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's been a while since I read it.
I've actually never read the Bell Jar. I've only read like some of her poems.
It'll make you'll be like, damn, afterward.
Well, she was born on October 27th, 1932.
Nice.
Whoop, whoop. In Boston, Massachusetts, to Aurelia, a second-generation American with Austrian parents.
Okay.
And Otto, an immigrant from Germany. So
Otto
got those lineages. I don't know. Thought that was fun.
Yeah.
He was an entomologist.
Nice.
So now we have more connections to entomologists at our fun book club, book author dinner parties. And he actually wrote a book on bumblebees.
Oh, interesting.
He was a professor of biology.
Bumblebees.
I
bet a bunch of people are reading that book now. Otto Plath's book on bumblebees.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because everyone's like, oh my God, the bumblebees, they're all going to die, and then we're all going to die. And so I bet people are checking that shit out now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And he was like, called it.
I told you guys this was important work.
You all just make fun of me, calling me honey. She also had a brother, Warren, who was 3 years younger. So just kind of typical family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One boy, one girl.
Yeah. Immigrant father, mom that's second generation. Just kind of, just doing the thing out in Boston, Massachusetts.
Nice.
However, her father dies a week after her 8th birthday.
Oh, from what?
He died of a heart attack after foot amputation because of undiscovered diabetes.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess it's not.
So here's how the story goes. And I didn't type this up, so I'm going to do this from memory. But her dad had a friend who had lung cancer.
Okay.
And her dad was convinced that he was getting sick because he also had lung cancer.
Okay.
But he was too afraid to go and get it checked out.
Sure.
Turns out it was actually diabetes. So the diabetes had just like completely taken over. It was just like past the point of no return. So he had to get a foot amputated, and there was complications afterwards and he died of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
Kind of a horrific death for a child to witness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and she actually ends up writing a lot of poetry about her dad later in life, so it's kind of like a very scarring thing.
Yeah, she has that one poem, Daddy, or something.
She does have one poem called Daddy. Yeah. So
there's like a video on YouTube of her actually saying, like, reading the poem. I remember, like, this is just a memory that totally just came into my head that I totally forgot about.
I love it.
I remember someone in college talking about how you can find video of Sylvia Plath actually like reading some of her poems. And one of them was Daddy. And so it's like, yeah, so you can see her. And it's like really creepy. It's like, I remember it's because you can't really hear it very well, and it's all black and white, and it's like, that it's very grainy and stuff. And it's kind of creepy because you can't really hear her.
Huh.
Yeah.
Creepy. Sad and creepy.
Yeah, it's like a ghost reading a poem.
She wrote that way later in life.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, almost like right around the time she died.
Yeah.
Like before, obviously.
Well, yeah.
So like that's super. Ooh, I just got the chills. Gah. So yeah, obviously this had an impact on her.
Yes.
With the poem like Daddy and having a special reading of it, while she's battling some dark things.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, yeah, good start. Pink milkshakes needed.
Yep.
So they moved around a lot, but it was just moving around on streets. They pretty much stayed in Boston. So she's written about certain places in Boston that she lived, but that's because she bounced around. But it's all pretty much Boston, pretty much. And they move this huge move after he dies, and this is even more difficult on her. She loses her faith. She has a quote saying, "You good? Or are you dying?"
I just swallowed my milkshake a little bit wrong.
Oh no, don't swallow the milkshake wrong.
So, okay, sorry. So go back.
So this takes a huge toll on her. She loses her faith. They were raised, kind of religious. She loses her faith. She just kind of spirals a little bit. And she has a quote saying that the first years of her life sealed themselves off like a ship in a bottle. Beautiful, inaccessible, obsolete, and a fine white flying myth.
Wow.
Right? I simultaneously love, but I'm so saddened by that quote.
Yeah.
This time was so beautiful to her, and it just shut itself off from her. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, it's a very lovely way to say, like, I'm basically going to shut my feelings off from remembering things because it will just make me sad. Like, I'm just going to shove my feelings down into a dark hole, like, and ignore them,
Yeah.
Like, it's a really beautiful way of saying that.
Yeah, and just like going, I'm putting it in a bottle. At 8 or 9 years old, she is first published with a poem in the Boston Herald in the children's section. She continues to establish regional publication several more times. At age 11, she starts a consistent journal, and I just noticed that Lesley has a copy of her journals, like a compilation of journaling.
The unabridged Sylvia Plath journals.
So she was a huge journaler, and therefore you can apparently actually obtain those journals.
Yep.
I didn't know. So I just wrote that in, not expecting that. That was fun. And she takes up visual arts.
Oh, cool.
She's awesome. She's awarded for her artwork. She continues. She was actually what's that word when you piece things together?
Mosaic?
Not mosaic.
Puzzles?
No. That idea, but with like, you cut it out of a newspaper.
Oh, crap. What do you call that? Oh, I used to do that all the time in high school.
And she was actually prolific in that. And she actually had a lot of artwork that she made that was like regarded as good, I guess. And
oh, yeah. What do you call that? Oh my God.
It'll come to us.
Yeah.
And she actually is awarded for her artwork.
Nice.
While she's growing up.
Cool.
So she sounds pretty incredible, right?
Yeah.
Well, she has an IQ of 160.
Okay. There we go.
Yep. Yeah. So if that doesn't help, I don't know what will.
No, that's never going to help.
So she's smart, artistic, driven, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just very, very intellectual. Very intellectual. And after graduating from high school, I actually didn't know if IQ, I'm going to say that this is my dumb moment. I didn't know if IQ of 160 was high. And I go, Zach, is an IQ of 160 high? He goes, yeah, it's pretty high. And I'm like, well, what's high? What's pretty high? He's like, I don't know, it's just pretty high. So all I know is, I don't know, it's just pretty high.
That's Mensa high. That's like, yeah, that's super.
So she's smart.
She's crazy smart. She's a genius.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're a genius if you're pretty much over 130.
Oh, whoa. Okay, thank you. See, you put it in perspective. He's just yelling at me. I don't know, it's just smart.
I think Mensa, it's like 132 or something like that to be in Mensa or something. Or maybe it's 128. It's something like that. I don't know. Who cares?
Who cares? She's smart. Yeah, so she's smart. She's pretty, driven, artistic. She's awesome. After graduating from high school, she gets her first national publication in, ironically, Christian Science Monitor.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they publish a bunch of crap. Sorry, I don't mean like bad things. They publish a lot of things that are outside of like religious things.
I know, but like for her losing her faith and kind of like going in this direction of not believing in that, why would you want your work to be published in that?
Because it's not really totally religious. Like there's articles, there's like sciencey stuff for, like cultural stuff in their thing all the time.
Oh,
that has, I think it's always funny when it's like, oh, this is in, Christian Science Monitor or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, I guess it's like, it's a paper that is owned by just like a nonprofit church or something. I'm not even exactly sure, which is probably better than something like the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, So it's sort of like maybe it's a little bit more trustworthy because it's just, maybe
Not
they're
owned by Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I mean, how often do you really need to read about like, criticisms of religious things, if they're going to be kind of open and be objective journalists, like I'm sure they're not having too bad of a spin. Everyone has a spin, but at least that's a spin you can kind of read into pretty easily. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
As opposed to why it's good for billionaires to be involved in the space race, which is literally the title of an opinion piece that was in the Washington Post, which is like, God. Well, we know that they're definitely not corrupted by their ownership now, are they?
Not at all. God. Anyway, just so frustrating. Yeah, the fact that this whole corporate space race is already just like, oh great, let's continue separating the rich from the very rich from the very poor.
Yeah.
Anywho,
she's she's printed in there. Cool. What did she write exactly? It was just a short story.
It didn't really say.
Okay.
And it just is that she was published, and she's smart, so I'm not going to argue with her.
Yeah. Cool.
She's really smart. Not going to argue with a lot of what she decides.
Yeah.
In 1950, she attends Smith College.
Mm-hmm.
And for anyone who doesn't know, that's a private women's college on the East Coast.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing it's not.
I think it's in
Is it
Boston.
Still just women's college?
Well, at the time it was.
Yeah, definitely at the time,
college.
but.
In Boston, I believe.
Yeah.
So
somewhere.
Staying close to home. She is excelling academically and works on the school newspaper. I was like, this girl is Rory Gilmore if I ever met one.
Yeah.
Right?
Rory Gilmore wishes she was Sylvia Plath.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally.
Her junior year, she's accepted into a coveted, I'm going to say internship. It didn't make sense to me. It was just
with her boyfriend's dad at his newspaper?
No, but close. But maybe there was a boyfriend involved, and it is for a magazine. But I don't think he was involved in the magazine because it is called Mademoiselle Magazine. And I think it's an internship. It didn't really, it was kind of confusing. It was just that she got this position. I was like, is this an internship? Why is it coveted? Why wouldn't she just work there and not finish school? I didn't get it.
Because her boyfriend's family made fun of her at dinner. And so then now the owner of the newspaper / magazine,
Yeah.
has to hire her so he can humiliate her. Logan.
Yeah, I hated Logan.
So I love Logan. I love Logan.
I was always for the bad boy Jess. Love that.
I like
well
him
read too.
Best for me, but not for Rory. Logan's the best for Rory. Just like in Sex and the City, I love Aiden, the carpenter, outdoorsy guy.
Uh-huh.
But for
Big
Carrie
Mr.
is
Vegas.
yeah.
I guess because Jess doesn't challenge Rory the way.
Yeah.
This is a really random tangent.
Let's talk more about Gilmore Girls.
and drink our pink milkshake cocktails. Love it.
Yes.
So while she's working at Mademoiselle Magazine as the guest editor.
Okay.
The editor sets up an interview with poet Dylan Thomas. And so it's he's there. He's going to be interviewed at my magazine. And her boyfriend at the time said that she loved Dylan Thomas, quote, more than life itself.
Wow.
End quote. So she really loved Dylan Thomas.
She fanboyed all over him.
Oh, fanboyed hard.
Mm-hmm. He's her Harry Styles.
Oh, God, yeah. Plus some. And so she hears this chance, but she's denied access to the interview and therefore doesn't get to meet him.
Well, is it because of all of the Dylan Thomas pictures all over her wall and how she kept writing Mrs. Dylan Thomas in her notebook?
I was actually kind of thinking that honestly, I really was the editor could have been you're a little too intense when it comes to Dylan Thomas. So yeah. I think it'd be healthy for me just to do the interview since you might be a little over the top, but she's smart. I don't know. Or maybe it was just a male ego thing. I don't even know if the editor was a male editor, but whatever.
Yeah, probably was, but yeah. Okay.
So I'm like, what happened there? Because she actually tries to find him and ends up stalking his hotel area.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it got, like she was
before the interview?
hunting. No, after the interview.
Oh, well, yeah.
And she's hunting
Dylan Thomas.
Dylan Thomas.
That's the name of the new movie.
Yeah, hunting Dylan Thomas. So I think, like, in my head, how it plays out is that he set it up. He doesn't really invite her. The editor doesn't really invite her.
Yeah.
She finds out, gets to the office, is like, what the fuck? And goes and, like, running out. And,
no, I'm in love with this man.
yeah, and tries, and is just, like, running all over New York City. Where are you, Dylan Thomas? But he's left and gone home.
Oh, shoot.
Like, he's, like, in the airplane type of thing.
Oh, man. So... No hanging out in the lobby.
No hanging out in the lobby. And this devastates her.
Oh.
And she returns to Smith. And right around the same time, she's also denied entrance into the Harvard writing seminar.
Oh.
Which sends her completely spiraling.
Mm.
And so a few weeks after all this occurrence, she suffers from her first depressive episode. I'm not a fan of that verbiage, so I'm going to say, what do you think? That was what I found when everyone talked about her, but it was like, depressive episode seems so callous to me.
I don't know. I mean, well, because if you're bipolar and you have like manic episodes and you have depressive episodes, so that's the way I'm looking at it, you know? So it'd be
okay, so maybe she was undiagnosed bipolar potentially and would have depressive episodes.
Yeah, but you can have depressive episodes and just be a person, you know? Okay.
With depression. It seems so cold.
Yeah.
Depressive episode.
Yeah.
It just seemed cold for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's not like tantrum or anything. It just means it's like, here's now this period of time where there's just, you're depressed. You know, you are going through all of the major, symptoms of depression, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it was during this time that she attempts suicide for the first time. And again, it's so sad that I even have to say that. Attempt suicide for the first time. Mm-hmm. And for this one, this is the only one I'm really actually going to kind of talk about because it's interesting. And it's very interesting. So here, like she has this chance to meet her hero. It's denied. She's, she can't get into the Harvard writing seminar. She's spiraling. And so what she does is ultimately, in a nutshell, she's crawled under her mother's porch and she's missing for several days. And so there is a missing persons report.
Oh, wow.
And then when they kind of get her back out and like back into society, there's a full like college girl found, and it's like kind of glamorized in a way. It was weird. It's interesting. You can find that newspaper article, and I was kind of, I mean, again, this was all just so kind of mentally like, what the fuck? The fact that she did this and then it was glamorized, like she was missing. Oh, she was under her mom's porch for 3 days. Oh, she's found.
Yeah.
Like what? That kind of seems like it's all just adding to this psychological
torture.
Yeah. Like, glorifying what she was ultimately attempting to do. It was interesting.
Yeah. Finding this, like, it's like, yeah, heroism or something in like something that's just like going to be so much more embarrassing because you didn't die.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, well, I didn't die, and that was the whole point, and so I'm embarrassed, and I'm feeling horrible and humiliated, and I failed once again, in my list of failures that have recently happened, and now all these people are like, being like, yay, we're so glad we found you, we're so happy you're here. Yeah.
You're just missing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like you just got lost on your mom's porch. It happens to everyone, right? And like, oh, she's a silly girl. She thought she was going into the basement and didn't know where she was. Yeah. Got turned around for a couple days. I mean, it's just,
it's weird. And I don't know, like,
to me,
again,
that's
she's
the
so
more callous
smart,
stuff.
So what is she, how is she processing this? It's this very high intellectual level. Mm-hmm. It's just, her brain is interesting. So here's where it gets really good. Get ready with that pink milkshake.
Good.
Yeah. So she goes through extensive electroconvulsive therapy.
Oh, wow.
And insulin shock therapy, her treatments for depression at McLean Hospital.
Insulin shock therapy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Her father could have used that.
I know.
But they use that for...
Why are you using insulin?
Because they invented it and they're just like, let's use it for... I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like, have you ever seen Dracula Dead and Loving It?
No.
And this is like, because they're totally making fun of like the medical profession type of thing. And there's this, psychiatric hospital in this movie. And the doctor there uses an enema for anything and everything. So it's kind of like what you're saying. It's like they're just like, we just invented this. This is great. Let's use it. Let's use it. Instead of saying like, well, should we use it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we should watch that sometime. He's just like, what should we do with him? Put him in a straitjacket. Oh, and give him an enema. Like the amount of enemas.
I'm sure that happens with like everything that we first come up with. Like, yeah. Penicillin, everyone use it for everything. And then that's why there's all these things that can be cured with penicillin, because we were like, let's fucking try it on everything, you know?
Right.
Okay, so this works, this doesn't work. It actually makes it worse. Check that off the list, you know?
Yeah.
It's like cave people eating the mushrooms, you know? Like,
right? This one made us trip out really hard, but this one was really tasty in that soup last night.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
So it's like, maybe it will help with her depression. It's like eating a cookie, but really extreme.
Right?
I know that always helps me.
Right?
When I'm a little blue. You know? Yeah.
But it's like so true. Like, it's just, yeah. Anyway. So she seems to, and I had to put this in quotes because it's like, oh my God. She seems to make a, quote, this is my own quote, full recovery.
She's smart enough to realize, well, I don't want to fucking be here. Yeah. So,
well, even then, when you have depression,
I'm happy now.
You're never really fully recovered.
No. Yeah.
But they say, oh, she's fully recovered. Yeah. Go on.
She no longer sees a lady coming out of the yellow wallpaper.
Yeah. Great. Bye.
Reference to something else.
What was it?
That's a short story.
Oh.
It's one of my favorites. You'll read it.
Okay. Of hers?
No.
Oh.
I think it's a different woman.
Okay. Who also wrote about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So she goes back and she graduates. She writes her thesis on like comparing two works of Dostoevsky.
Nice. That's complicated. Good for her.
Yeah. She's summa cum laude and a Phi Beta Kappa academic honor society.
Okay.
She's
yeah, of course.
Insanely smart and very driven. She gets a Fulbright scholarship.
Nice.
To study at Cambridge University.
Woohoo.
During her first year there, she actively writes and works at the newspaper, Varsity.
Varsity newspaper? Mm-hmm. That's a thing?
Cambridge during the 50s, I guess.
Cool.
And
I got this Letterman jacket from Varsity newspaper. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. I don't think England has varsity jackets though.
They have cute little sweaters, just like you would expect in England. And a vest. We have varsity vests.
We're just gonna let her keep going. See what happens.
Matching bow ties to go with our varsity vests. And little loafers. Where we put our varsity pennies in our penny loafers shoes thing. Whatever, you know, with the little holes. And
you sound more transatlantic than English. I have to say this.
Well, that's what happens when you come from Boston and you move to Cambridge.
And you're working at Varsity.
I'm in charge of the transatlantic department at Cambridge.
I mean, your transatlantic accent is awesome. And for those of you who don't know, no, I'm just kidding. We've already done too many tangents. This is a short podcast, though. But this first year, she also meets her future husband, Ted Hughes.
Nice.
Who was also a famous poet. And he's got his own whole story, so we'll do a podcast on him. So
cool. ...
More on him later. But in regards to their relationship, she was completely smitten. They were so happy.
Is he British?
Together. He is British. I believe.
Okay, cool.
He was, quote to her, quote, a singer, storyteller, lion, and world wonder with the voice of the thunder of God.
I want to hear more about this lion stuff.
I know. They were married 4 months after meeting.
Wow.
On June 16th, 1956.
Wow.
After a honeymoon in Paris and Benidorm. Sorry.
What? Where?
I forgot to look that one up. Benidorm. She returns and finishes her second year of school.
Nice. Okay.
In 1957, the couple moved back to the U.S. and she teaches at Smith, her alma mater. But it became too hard for her to, commit to teaching. Obviously, she's an academic. She wanted to give her all to teaching and to writing. And she really is just wanting to dive into her writing. She's in her early 20s. She wants to make this happen.
Yeah.
So they end up moving back. Well, I mean, I guess they're just... Wait, where's Smith? Is it? Did we decide if it's in Boston?
Sure.
Okay. Well, then they stay in Boston, and she, in 1958, becomes a receptionist for Mass Gen, Massachusetts General Hospital.
Interesting. That's
in the psychiatric unit.
Okay. So she could stay close to the meds?
Yeah, I was like, okay. I mean, there was just so many thoughts and feelings on this. I was like, cool, so she's going to be a receptionist. Life could be maybe more mellow, give her some structure.
Yeah.
At Mass Gen, okay, cool, that's good.
A hospital,
really
I guess you've got
well-known hospital,
connections.
one of the best.
Good health insurance plan, I'm guessing.
Right.
Benefits, yeah.
In the psychiatric unit. I was like, does she not know
what you
healthy
thinking, girl?
Boundaries?
No, I mean, to me, I feel like it means that it's like, what do you want? What are you hoping to get out of this?
She's very intelligent.
You're doing this.
She essentially
for a
has
reason.
a master's degree from Cambridge.
Yeah.
And she's which gives her the ability, but she kind of chose to go to the psychiatric unit, I think.
Yeah.
When you were receiving insulin shock therapy and electric shock therapy.
Yeah. You would think you wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. Look, so here's the thing.
That might be triggering, right?
I'm going to think that she probably didn't tell her husband, who she's only known for like 4 months, like by the time they got married, that she was, a psych patient at one point. Because even today, that's not a good look for anyone. And back then it's definitely even more polarizing and hard to, like back then you can't even say that you've seen a therapist, that you even know a therapist. Yeah. If you live next door to a therapist, you better move away because it's the 1950s and people might think that you said hello to your neighbor and therefore you need help. Didn't you know he's a therapist? Oh my God, let's move. We got to move. We can't have anyone know that we
can't talk to him at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like such an extreme like taboo, I guess, that you get any help. And so my theory would be that she would want to work there in order to potentially kind of help herself by like learning, it'd be like the modern day version of like, going online and looking up shit about yourself, like symptoms and things for your mental whatever, and like
I can see that definitely.
Yeah, downloading a podcast with like some therapist is talking about just general advice to people and stuff. Like this would be her way of kind of, I don't want to see a therapist because I don't want my new husband or anyone to think I'm crazy and therefore, someone they can't hang out with or hire or whatever. So if I work here, I'm going to be kind of exposed to this stuff. And I can sort of see what goes on. I don't know, maybe. Or swipe some meds.
Or swipe, yep.
Or she's swiping
just
meds.
want, excuse me, on the opposite direction, yeah.
Just
swipe
meds.
some meds.
But you wouldn't really know what meds you should be taking, especially back then, I would think. I don't know.
No, yeah, and it could get
wouldn't
really
be
dangerous
like,
doing that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like easy to be like Prozac, because I'm depressed or something, because I don't think Prozac was around. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd say I know.
But
because again, mental health was so taboo, like you
yeah,
said.
yeah.
Uh,
So I think it's just being around them. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, what? Healthy boundaries. She ended up attending at night, creating writing seminars to continue on her path to being a more serious writer. Her teacher, Robert Lowell, also an author, encouraged
and poet.
encourages her to write from her perspective. And so she does. So she really starts writing from her perspective.
Nice.
And she also had a friend who is also an author, but it didn't strike me as much as Robert Lowell.
Okay, yeah.
So it was like, here's her teacher, Robert Lowell, saying, like, write from your perspective. And she had a girlfriend who kind of was also a writer and said, write from your perspective. And so she writes from this very personal female perspective and develops her confessional writing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of who encourages her, is Robert Lowell.
Nice.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. And, she also resumes her psychiatric treatments.
Okay, there we go. Never mind.
Yeah. So maybe it was your first theory, that she's close and can kind of secretly do it.
Yeah.
She can meet
like, I'm feeling myself getting back into that place that I'm trying to ignore and not,
Yeah. And so life seems great. Then her and her husband Hughes travel across Canada, where at one point they stay with an artist colony in late 1958 or 59. And this is where she, quote, learned to stay true to her own weirdness. I want that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Stay true to your own weirdness. We're all weird, but you gotta own it up to it and stay true to it.
Yeah.
It's the people who try not to be weird are actually weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And not just embracing your own weirdness and being like, it's okay just to be me.
Yes, exactly. Although staying too true to an idea of weirdness is also what makes you just lame, Like people trying to like really hold on to like, look how weird I am.
Yes.
And it's just all like, calm down. We know that you put on slippers and
milk it. Those who will
and like to go to bed at 10 p.m. Like you don't need to stay up at 2 a.m. every night just because you think it makes you weird.
Yeah, I agree. And so, yes, there's a fine line. However, her anxiety is still there. But so, she's still working on her confessional writing, still kind of dealing with all that stuff. So it's not that the anxiety has created another depressional period where she stops working. She's still very much working.
Yeah.
By December of 1959, they actually move back to England. So she's got her anxiety starting to skyrocket, but, things seem to be okay. She's working on her writing. She's got her job. She's got her classes at night. Mm-hmm. And they move back to England.
Well, maybe a change will help your mental
That's what I'm
state.
thinking her husband was saying, instead of like, hey, let's stay here and work through it together with you getting the help that you're clearly getting here. But anyway, I'm not going to say
people who already are aware of your treatment and all of that. Let's move. That was such a thing, though. It's like, you're ill. You better move somewhere else.
Well, that was my grandma. Didn't I tell you about that?
Yeah. The whole like Arizona. You gotta move to somewhere warm or something.
She had huge asthma and the doctor was like, move somewhere warm and dry. So my great grandparents moved my grandma to Arizona and she hated it. And they all hated it. And
she still had asthma.
And she still had asthma. So they moved back to Orange County. Ended up graduating from Santa Ana High School.
Yeah, I mean that's just I don't know. That's like such a popular thing. So it might have been like, hey, well,
your anxiety's up. Move to England.
Yeah, let's make big changes in our life right now.
Seems healthy. Their first daughter is born in 1960. Mm-hmm. In 1961, they moved to a flat in Devon, England.
Nice.
Where their son, third pregnancy, is born in January of 1962.
Okay. 2 kids, boy, girl, just like her family.
Mm-hmm. Roughly the same amount of time apart,
Yeah.
give or take.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Girl and boy and girl older. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just like her own family. Mm-hmm. Aw. That's sweet.
But she was pregnant. The son was the third pregnancy. She was pregnant a second time that ended in a miscarriage.
Sad.
Yeah. And again, with someone as beautifully fragile as Sylvia Plath.
It's not going to, yeah.
No. By July of 1962, Plath discovers her husband's affair with the landlady.
Oh, no. What? With Ethel Mertz?
Yes.
I mean, that's what I think of when I think of landlady.
Okay. Well, apparently this landlady was really pretty.
Well, so was Ethel
And
when you really looked at her.
they've been having an affair since they moved in.
Damn, no.
Yeah, and so she discovers it.
Oh, no. Great, you
And-
move me to another country when I'm in the middle of an anxiety, depression, whatever going on.
And if you do
And
the
then
math,
you-
she was like, they moved while she was pregnant. Yeah. And then have an affair on me. Great. Turns out, too, he potentially, and again, because it was just some of these facts you read online, you're like, I want to say yes, but I'm not going to commit to this.
Yeah.
But there is a thing that I read in one article that he did beat her. And that was what caused the miscarriage of the second baby.
Oh, no. No.
Or the second pregnancy.
Yeah.
So he's not great.
Well, definitely not. No.
Yeah. He's not. I got to do more research on him because I'm like, but after the affair is discovered, she leaves him immediately
Yeah, fuck yeah. Get the fuck out.
and goes to London with the children.
Okay.
That winter of 1962 to 1963 was the coldest in 100 years.
Oh, wow.
It is extremely difficult with the kids constantly getting sick because they can't warm up. There's no telephone and the pipes keep freezing.
Oh, gosh.
It's really hard. And this sinks, and she's just had to separate from her husband, who she was clearly very crazy about.
Yeah.
This sinks her into another depressive episode. But this is the time period in which she completes most of her work and poems.
Okay.
So she's sitting there, and it's hard, but she writes a lot of those poems, such as Daddy.
Yeah. And Ariel, I think, is another.
Yeah,
Ariel.
everything was compiled into Ariel.
Oh, that's the name. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
the compilation is Ariel. I'll get into that.
Okay.
In January of 1963, she tells her doctor about her many past attempted suicides.
Wow. Good for her.
There was 6 to 7 known ones.
Oh, wow.
With probably many other small ones. So
Yeah.
she confesses, and lets him know the extent of her depression and insomnia. He prescribes her antidepressants, visits her daily to check up on her, tries to get her into a hospital, but fails, so he hires a live-in nurse.
Okay.
This doctor was great.
Yeah. And it's England, so they have better medical care.
Yeah. On February 11th, the nurse starts, so she gets up to the door, but it's locked. And then a handyman goes, she fetches the handyman and goes, and they open the door. And they open the door to find Plath dead in her kitchen, with it being completely sealed off so that the children were protected. So she knew that she wanted to protect her children. She's 30 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Most of her work is then posthumously published, and she is given a Pulitzer Prize posthumously too. Her suicide note did say, "Please call Dr. Horder."
Yeah. Yeah, so...
It was the day that the live-in nurse was supposed to start.
Yeah. That's why then there's a lot of, there's some speculation. It was just an attempt, and not
and there was, I read a lot about that.
Yeah.
That there is that, because she wrote, "Please call Dr. Horder," but they say, she had shoved herself very far into
The oven. Yeah.
that it was if it was an attempt, would you have shoved yourself that far into the oven? It wasn't a casual,
who knows? I don't know. I mean, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
She also made her kids a snack.
Yeah.
that was sitting on the kitchen counter. So
Yeah.
still a good mom.
Well, and she knew that the live-in maid was, or the live-in nurse was supposed to be starting.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's interesting, because that's usually used as kind of the, belief that she knew the nurse was starting at a certain time, and that was in like when she was coming and everything. And so it might have just been in like, an attempt to like cry out for help kind of thing, and not like seriously. But I would say on the other side of that is it's like that you don't want your kids to be the ones to find you.
She would know.
So it would make, and that this person is going to come into the house, and odds are they're going to get into the kitchen before your kids get up, because what time your kids get up, and their routine, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a way to not have your kids be scarred from, seeing your dead body.
Yeah.
And instead someone else who's a stranger.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that's just the ideal, situation. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I end up dead, I don't want someone I know to be scarred seeing me dead. I'd rather it be a stranger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's always the best, proof or something, or circumstantial evidence for, one or the other. I don't know. I mean, it's depression's depression. I mean, you don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. And it just tragically happened. Tragic everything. But she was brilliant and wrote a lot of good stuff, and her brilliance was just astounding to me. Yeah. And that's what I kind of want to focus on, was just like how smart and driven she was. Yeah. She's writing that, yes, she had these things going on, but she was more than just the suicide conversation that people have of like, oh, that Sylvia Plath died with her head in an oven. Like, she's so much more than that. Mm-hmm. She's brilliant. And so I'm going to make sure I will comment on all my fun facts, because again, just shows you that she was in her 30 short years of life, she had a lot. Her Smith scholarship and her McLean hospital stay were actually paid for by Olive Higgins Prouty, a novelist who pioneered psychotherapy after her own personal breakdown. Wow. She and her husband became very involved in the supernatural, the occult, astrology, and the Ouija boards.
Sylvia Plath and her husband?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if it was still that other one.
Oh, no, that was the first one. Sylvia Plath and because I was like, husband.
Wait, this woman wrote this stuff, but now she's doing this thing, so I don't know if I want to trust her.
No, Sylvia Plath and her husband Hughes became involved in that area. Fun. So like when they were in England, and they did it her second year of school. So like she's like in school in England, and it's like dark rainy nights, and they're playing with the Ouija board. Fun. I thought that was cool. They were beekeepers. She was a beekeeper.
Aw, daddy.
Yeah. Aww. Yeah, but I was like, that's so cool. And she actually wrote a ton of poetry on bees.
Oh, cool.
Like a lot of poetry on bees. Her house that she sadly died in, but that she moved into in London, and she looked at it as a good sign, was Yeats' old house.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I really want to do Yeats.
Yeah. So Yeats' old house, she lives in it, and she really did think it was like, oh, this is a good sign.
Yeah, yeah.
She also wrote children's literature, and she has these cute little drawings with the children's literature. I was like, that's awesome. And here's something that I find really funny and interesting. So she had developed a name for herself, but she really did develop her name for herself after she died, when everything got published at once. She had stuff published while she was alive, but a lot, like that Ariel was published posthumously. Mm-hmm. Okay. And a lot, like most of her works, it was like most of it is posthumously. I'm trying to make that word right all of a sudden.
Posthumously.
Thank you.
That's what runs through my head every time. Yeah, because it's just like, that's how I see it. Posthumously. Because life is funny, so it's after the funny.
It's after the funny. But she actually published I'm just all of a sudden like hit
the bell jar.
red, yellow, leather, yellow.
New
Can't
York
even do a
leather.
I can't even do tongue twisters. The bell jar was actually
Peter Piper
picked
shelled
pickled peppers. There we go. I did it.
Sally's
Sally sold
Pickles.
something by the somethings. The bell jar was published under the name Victoria Lucas. She did a pseudonym.
Interesting.
Victoria Lucas.
Love
and it was
it.
actually met with total ambivalence. Not torn apart.
Yes, that makes sense.
Not loved, but just ambivalence.
I get that.
But now it's published under her name in 1971. So, several years after she died.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most well-known books out there.
Yeah, I think so. I remember, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I read it, and I remember having that kind of actually like sort of an ambivalence about it or something. And but I think it was because I was really, really depressed, and so I wasn't really picking up on how it was kind of, because I remember telling someone later on,
Terrible time to be reading Sylvia Plath.
well, but
And
to
her
me I was just like,
writing.
well, and to me it was just like, oh, this all feels just so like blah and normal, like what's wrong with it, like why does everyone act like this is like this creepy depressing book, and then someone started pointing out different little like passages and things, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, so I have depression. Like it was just one of the, because otherwise I was like, I don't know, it's just some girl and she's in college and she's just like acting normal, right? Like I was like, what's the big deal? And it was like, oh wait, yeah, so I have depression. Like
Yeah.
I was like, no, wake up call. Okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, if a whole nation of people or generation of people read it with ambivalence, then
Maybe you were onto something.
yeah. Maybe everyone has
Makes you feel
depression.
better, huh? Well, that too. Everyone during that time. Yeah, so she was a very smart, driven person who, taken from this world at much too early of a date, and probably could have done a lot of crazy things with that brain of hers.
Yeah.
She probably could have been the Jeff Bezos before Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Powerhouse multi-billionaire.
Yeah. It's hard.
So that's my story of Sylvia Plath. And again, I just really wanted to focus on how incredible she was beyond the sad stories.
Yeah.
Did I do a good job?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. She's pretty badass. You know?
Yeah.
There's not, there's a whole journal. You can really just like dive into like her random thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that makes sense. She's really smart, because I think I've read most of that journal. Again, that was also in college. Went through a whole Sylvia Plath phase, and or maybe I was reading poems in like a poem literature class, but her journals were really easy to read. I was like really impressed that it's unabridged, so it's like so it's not like she's like, I'm going to edit my journals, make sure they're all polished and nice for publication. It was more like years, decades later, someone's like, well, here's all our journals, let's just slap it together and like throw it into a book. And it's extremely coherent for for journaling.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, she's so smart. And you just look at her and she's so beautiful and driven and had a good head on her shoulders.
Yeah.
Brain chemistry, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nasty thing.
Yeah. Well, that was fun.
Yeah. So, do you understand why I wanted something pink
Yes.
and frothy?
Yes. So, it's, you gotta,
Why I liked the thing from the website with the whole, like,
what was that quote about her childhood that you said, with like the fluffy cloud, whatever, and hiding it? Yeah.
Sealed up.
Yeah.
Like a ship in a bottle.
Yeah. I want to hear that quote again.
It's such a beautiful quote and so sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Quote, sealed themselves off like a ship in a bottle. Beautiful, inaccessible, obsolete. A fine white flying myth.
See, and isn't that her in a way? Like in a lot of ways, like that's
She
where
is that quote.
she's that quote because it's just like it's it's tragic, but there's something just so like there's a reason people are so drawn to Sylvia Plath still, and like people still talk about her, even though her catalog is so small and her life was so short, and it's not like she was really like famous or something during her lifetime. Like, it's just it's because she has this brilliant writing. She had she had a mental disorder, disease, and so she couldn't, she wasn't able to produce all the stuff that she was able to produce, like that she could have produced.
She easily could have. IQ of 160.
Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah, that's
now that I know that like Mensa is 20 to 30 something.
Yeah,
she was brilliant.
Oh yeah, yeah. And of course she's depressed. Anyone who's over, something, they're all depressed.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
So that was kind of my thought. Like, is her depression driving her work? And is that why we have such amazing work from Sylvia Plath? But the end, does the ends justify the means?
I don't think
know.
so. No. See, and I think...
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, I think in some cases, because I think, well, it really depends, and it's people don't like the idea that, we glorify the idea that like, oh, this person, if only we medicated Virginia Woolf, then she wouldn't have like written these things and this and that or whatever, and because that, at least that's the thing with Virginia Woolf. Like she, refused to take her medication and then she would write these brilliant books, but I don't think everyone's Virginia Woolf, like most people, it's like they're depressed and then because they're medicated or because they're seeing their psychiatrist, then they can actually, use the bad crap that has just been going on and get through it in a good in a good zone. Yeah. But like
have the energy to do it. Cause it seemed like even though she had this big creative outlet, right around the time she died and wrote so much.
Yeah.
She was still brilliant. But maybe she could have even written more if she hadn't, like, depression, takes so much out of you. And you
right. If she didn't always have those low times. Yeah. Like, cause it seemed like when she had something, when she was kind of having an up, happier time, she was writing really well. And then the depressing times, it doesn't seem like she was really.
Well, she was writing a lot.
Well, in the end, but then how do we know what was depressed, but like right after when she gets hit with that first one, and I mean, she's not writing then, because she wasn't accepted to the Harvard thing and this and that, like, she wasn't writing, and that would have been a great time for her to be writing, but she had depression, so she couldn't write. Yeah. So it's like, we could have had all this other crap from her when she was younger, but we don't have it because she had depression. Like, and so I think a lot of the times it is like, when you're in the depression episode, it's like you're not going to be producing anything. Maybe because you've had depression episodes in your life, you might be able to produce things, later on. But like, it's, I don't think it's going to be the thing that's going to drive you. It's going to be finding a way out of it, finding a way to work with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you, Sylvia Plath. I wish we could have given you. I love that doctor. He did what he could.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And he prescribed. It was like he prescribed and she got the antidepressants 2 weeks, and it takes 3 weeks for it to settle in. So it wasn't even like he was trying so hard. Antidepressants, hospitalization, live-in nurse checking up on her.
Yeah, he
did. That was awesome that he did all that.
Yeah, well, yeah, probably because it's like he didn't want to completely hospitalize her because she has her kids, and so then it's like
separation. They never even they were only separated for like 6 months.
Yeah, and so then it's like let's find a way to make sure that you can still be home with your children, and so you don't have to be in a hospital. I mean, just like wow, what a doctor. Yeah.
Crazy. Well, did you want to take any guesses at the cocktail? Other than it's pink and frothy and a nice thing for the soul for how sad that story could be, but we tried to focus on all the amazing things that she provided.
Just like her big sexy brain.
Yes. 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 I'll totally do it.
Woo!
Boom.
A win.
Win for the win. Yeah, I mean, she wasn't like known as like this big socialite, or you know, she was just really smart and driven and worked and lived her life with depression episodes. Anyway, well, there you go. Happy thoughts.
Yes. Go play outside now.
We'll do something really happy next time. Hopefully. Hopefully it's Leslie's turn next time, and she usually does the sad one. This is my one of my sad ones, but I don't do a lot of the sad ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna do something fun. I'm doing fun, so we're gonna have fun.
Okay, good. We'll have fun next time.
We're gonna talk about children's literature and females and women and empowerment. Yeah, I feel like right now, we're both like switching off on
what we would do.
Yes, exactly.
Right? You should have done Sylvia, and I should have done your next one. Anyway,
alrighty.
Happy thoughts.
Yeah, happy thoughts. Go play outside while it's pretty and wonderful.
Yep.
And follow us on Instagram and
we love
TikTok. And yes, we love you all who listen to us. It's amazing. And it's great hearing from people, and great that we get to share these fun stories with people.
And cocktail.
Yes.
Cool.
Alrighty.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Sources for this episode were poetryfoundation.com, Britannica.com, poets.org, Literary Ladies Guide, and Mental Floss. I actually did okay on that one. I couldn't get it, and you said